Hi friends, today I am sharing a little bit of my behind the scenes recently as I have been trying to get back into my mixed media work. I took a break from creating art for quite a while in the middle of the year, and I'm getting back into the swing of things. I'm getting inspired again. I started with watercolor, which is usually my typical process, and now I'm ready to dive back into all of my materials and my mixed media illustrating and get more color in there and just have a lot of fun. So if that seems like fun to you, please keep watching. If you are new, my name is Katie and I am a mixed media artist, although I haven't been doing much mixed media, hence this video. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope something inspires you to get out your sketchbooks and start creating. So here I'm just sharing a little bit of what I've been up to. I'm taking courses from artists I admire. I'm getting re-involved in Patreon and the communities on there, and that's always super inspiring. I've been playing around with all of my colors and materials. Right here is a little sketch I made. I had no idea what I was doing when I did it, but I liked the color combination. It gave like a more colorful version of autumn. So one of the sketches I do is I take this quick sketch I made and I do it again in another sketchbook. That's one of the challenges I give myself, is to do something twice, which I don't tend to do. I've also really been enjoying this little Royal Talent sketchbook first thing in the morning, just making quick little sketches in it, specifically with subjects that I'm not comfortable with or that I want to practice more. Okay, jumping into the sketches, I'm going to share with you 3 of the sketches I made the past week. Well, it's actually been a little bit longer than that because I've been delayed filming this, but for this first one, I'm recreating that littler sketch I showed you in my sketchbook, and I'm using my Kuretake Art Nouveau palette. I got this a couple Christmases ago, and I really haven't played a whole lot with it, so I wanted to grab it out because I'm in a mode of just trying all my materials again and getting reacquainted. I also grab out my gouache palette, which I have been using quite a bit. I made a video where I sketched some squash with it, and ever since then I just keep going back to it as my wet medium. Typically when I do mixed media, it is a beginning layer of some sort of wet medium, and then when that dries, I go on top of it with dry mediums, and you'll see that process here. For the sketches in this video, my overarching goal was to not worry about the outcome, not worry about if it turns out the way I wanted, not to even like it. My overarching goal and my number one goal was to just play, turn off my brain, avoid perfectionist traps, and just throw color down on the paper. I was as loose as I could be with this first sketch because I knew if I started to tighten up, if I started to get a little too nitpicky with things, that I would get frustrated and probably want to quit. The entire point of these sketches was to not care. So I just wanted to put color down and see how my materials interact with each other, even though I know how they interact with each other because I haven't physically done it in so long. I needed to feel it again. So these sketches in this video are not something I would hang in my house. They're not masterpieces. They're not even things I'm particularly proud of, but that is not the point. The point of them is to get back in that flow of creating with my materials. So for this sketch, like I said, I am recreating the one I showed you at the beginning of the video. It was just a small little sketch in one of my Pith sketchbooks. I think it was the Oro Blanco one. It's the bigger one. It's the one I use to just like swatch colors, and it's really truly my messy sketchbook. There's not a lot of like actual artwork in that. It's a lot of like playing with different brushes and color combinations and material combinations. But in that, I made that little sketch. And then under it, I wrote a list of the things I liked about it and the things I didn't like about it. And I wanted to incorporate those things or avoid those things in this sketch. Again, I'm keeping it loose. I'm not overthinking it. I'm just keeping those little notes in the back of my mind. One of them, for example, was that I didn't like that I didn't leave any negative space. So for this one, I tried to keep some negative space around the trees and around that little cabin. I also decided to use a different brush than I normally use. This is a filbert or oval brush because I wanted, again, to keep it really loose, and it's hard to get detail with a filbert brush, I find, and so I really wanted that messy, scruffy look with the foliage and the ground and all that. I don't know about other artists, but in the beginning of picking back up with my practice, I just feel so alien to stuff, even though I know a lot of stuff is happening subconsciously and I do remember things. In the beginning, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And one of the benefits of using mixed media is that if I create a stroke or I put down a color that I don't like, I can cover it up. And all it will do is just create more texture, and it's not a big deal. I find that there's a lot of freedom with mixed media art because you're allowed to make mistakes. Whereas, for example, with watercolor, even though it's the medium I started creating art with, and it's the one that I, am the most familiar with, it isn't as forgiving. So there is something really liberating about just throwing all different materials down, and if something doesn't turn out, or a color is ugly, or it just isn't working, it's not a big deal. Just cover it up and keep going. And I do that a lot in this sketch. There's colors that I don't like. I wasn't particularly loving the Art Nouveau palette. It was kind of just okay, but compared to my gouache palette, it wasn't giving me what I wanted it to. So I ditched it, and now I'm just using my gouache palette as my wet medium before I go on with other dry materials. Although I see that I have put some tree branches in with colored pencil. I believe I did that with the Derwent color pencil, drawing pencil in the color chocolate. I have been reaching for that specific color pencil over and over recently. It's such a great dark brown, and I think for a lot of these autumnal sketches that I was doing, it was just like the perfect color pencil. They're also just really good on top of other mediums. I really like the Derwent drawing pencils. I also like the Pops of Hot Pink as opposed to red for my autumnal color. It's really interesting to see my preferences come out when because I just haven't used my materials for a while. I've kind of forgotten what I like. But yeah, I like to reach for neon colors. In fact, I have an art supply / studio stuff haul coming up, and I have recently bought some more neon paints that I'm going to share, as well as some gouache and some other fun bits. And that should be coming up. Maybe it's not the next video, but the video after. I have some fun stuff planned. I'm really trying to stay on schedule with my videos, but it has been difficult just with, raising a family, and there's always stuff that comes up. And also, I haven't had a space to do voiceovers really. I have my art studio space, but it's in an open loft, which I love. I love my art area so much, but because it's in an open loft, all of the sounds from the home travel up, and it can be very loud, and it can be difficult to film videos in there where I'm talking to the camera or I'm doing a voiceover. So I now have a small little space, which I'll also be sharing. My husband recently built it, and it's amazing, and I'm so happy. And hopefully with that, I'll be able to be more consistent with uploads. Once all my wet mediums were dry, I went in with more colored pencil, and I'm grabbing my Neo colors. I believe this color is Jade, that like turquoise color, and I've been reaching for that color a lot. I'm really, really enjoying it. And I also found that I really like, I think it's pink, it's just called pink. I'm liking the combination in a lot of my sketches of the Neo color Jade and pink together. And I really love using Neo colors over my wet mediums like gouache or watercolor. And then for a little bit of smoke coming out of the chimney, I think I used an oil pastel because it's more opaque and it covers better sometimes than the white Neo color. So that is my first sketch done. I was pretty pleased actually with how it turned out. Granted, I didn't have any expectations, so that's always a good place to start. And I like the colors I used. I liked how loose it felt. And here is that previous sketch that I made. So I did incorporate a lot of the same elements, but I just made it a little bit more to my liking. And here's a list of some of the colors I preferred and what are some of the things I liked and didn't like. And I think I captured most of it. I was being very, loose with it. So that was the first sketch done. And now we're going to hop into the second sketch. Okay, for this second sketch, I grabbed back out my Pith sketchbook. This is the Caran. I can't remember what size it is, but I remember the names. And I'm grabbing some color pencils. I grabbed some brush markers. I also really liked the neon in the previous sketch, so I grabbed my luminous red Holbein acrylic gouache, which is one of my all-time favorite colors. Like, I highly recommend this color. It's so fun to work with. And then I also grabbed a color, I want to say that's ice green. I'm not sure if I reached for it, but it was just, I'm just being sporadic, grabbing what feels good at the moment. I also grab out some of my distressed crayons, which are also kind of neglected and needed a little love, so I thought I'd throw them in today. The exercise I'm doing for my sketches today are pictures I took at the park. So I'm trying to use photos that I have in my camera roll. I tend to take a lot of photos for sketchbook inspiration and then never use them. So I thought this would be a good exercise. The first one was to recreate a sketch I'd already made, and for today it is to use photos in my camera roll. So I took some pictures of me and my dog Murphy at the park the day before, and I decided to make some sketchbook panels with them. I also grabbed back out my gouache palette, and I'm using a water brush for these sketches today. For this first page, I am sketching this giant oak tree that is right by the park and near my house. That is my favorite tree, and I look at it all the time. I can actually see it from my backyard, and well, at the time of filming this, it was autumnal and glorious. Now the leaves have kind of fallen off. It happened overnight. Granted, this video is taking a lot longer to finish than I had wanted. It's, there was Thanksgiving and family in town and sick children, and I have to just embrace the fact that things may take longer than I want. That is just parenthood in a nutshell. But I was loving all the colors of this oak tree, and I really just wanted to have fun with it and sketch something loose and, again, not overthink it. I also only had about 45 minutes to sketch these panels before I had to go pick up my kids from school, so there was a bit of a time constraint, which I am beginning to embrace and trying to enjoy. I'm a very slow creator. I'm trying to be quicker and looser with things because the ironic thing is I tend to like stuff that I don't overthink, and then I have a shorter window of time to critique. So it was actually a good challenge for me. It made me, again, turn my brain off, and I was running against the clock, so I had to be kind of quick. I end up using a lot of the same autumnal colors for these sketch panels as I did with the previous one. I was really liking these color combinations together, and again, using more of that pink, and I'm still putting down gouache, so I think a lot of that's the Holbein opera color. And I like using a water brush a lot of times because you can be so quick with it. It's such a great travel brush to use, and it's also just really nice when I am in a hurry. I also want to note that it's really interesting as an artist to watch myself paint on video and kind of look at the creative choices I make, whether that's colors or brush strokes and things that I'm not thinking about in the moment, but I'm looking at it now on video as more of an observer. I struggle a little bit with my style, and I'm sure a lot of other artists can relate. I find that my style varies a lot depending on the medium I'm using. So for example, when I'm just using pure watercolor, my brush strokes are different. The subjects I like to paint can tend to be a lot different. I like a lot of granulation. I like a lot of that traditional watercolor look. Whereas when I'm using other mixed mediums like gouache or neocolors or colored pencils, I am a lot more illustrative with my style, and I feel like the two don't match. And I don't know if anyone can relate to that. If you can, I'd love to have you comment below where you notice that happening or with what materials. I just feel almost like I'm two different artists sometimes, and I kind of don't know which one to lean into, if that makes any sense, or maybe I don't have to. But I've noticed with mixed media, I am so much more playful. It's much more loose and textured, and I definitely can be loose with watercolor as well, but it's in more of an abstract way, more of a letting the paint fall wherever it wants to. Whereas with illustration or with mixed media, I definitely feel more of a childlike type illustration feeling, if that makes any sense. So I'd gone in with some of those distress crayons. I have a whole video of me using them. I will link that and maybe put it in the cards. I'm trying to remember to do all these things. I also have a video on making my gouache palette, which I've mentioned in previous videos. If you're interested in that, I will also leave that link below. And then I went in with this Derwent drawing pencil in the color chocolate that I was talking about before. I've been using this color pencil to death. It's just such a perfect dark brown for me. I wanted to add a little fence because it looked a little boring. Oh, I also have a fence. There's a fence between the oak tree and my backyard. So I was trying to create a little bit of line work in there. Okay, for this other page, I am splitting it in half and doing two smaller sketches. This first one is a picture of my dog Murphy in a field with his ball. He is an English Springer Spaniel, and playing ball and playing fetch is his favorite thing in the entire world, and that's all he wants to do. And so I try to take him out and play as much as possible, and he loves roaming around in the fields, and I thought it was a really cute picture. I also wanted to do it because I wanted to challenge myself a little bit with sketching an animal. I am not very comfortable with animals, even though I love animal illustration. I just feel intimidated by it. So I thought this was a low stakes way to kind of just draw a little, is mostly line work of him. And, it's in my sketchbook and nobody has to see it except all of you are going to see it, which is okay. I have given myself permission to make not very good sketches. So with all that pressure off of me, I feel like I can do things without feeling too critical. Another thing I really like about the Derwent drawing pencils I'm remembering as I'm watching this is how forgivable they are. I think because they're for drawing, they erase a lot easier than other color pencils. I can do a whole video on my Derwent drawing pencils and I can swatch them for you. It's something I've had on my to-do list or my to-film list. If you'd be interested in that, you can leave a comment below and let me know. Or if there's other materials you want me to maybe try out, let me know. I'll also try to remember to link all the supplies used in this video in the description box below if you are curious about any of them. And then a sketch of my dog would not be complete without his ball, so I'm taking some of that luminous red acrylic gouache and just painting it in there really quick. I have another dog, Mabel, but she's an elderly pug and she's not up for running as much as him, so she doesn't care about the ball so much, but he is obsessed. And then for the last sketch on this page, I am sketching this plant that my husband and I pass by on our walk right now. It's blooming and it is so gorgeous. The hot pink flowers on it. I believe it's called a California fuchsia. I had to look it up. It's in the evening primrose family and I live in the Sacramento area, so it checks out that that's probably what it is. But it blooms in the summer and autumn. So right now it's in full bloom and the vines or the leaves on it are more of this ashy, sagey green color. And then the actual flowers are such a hot reddish pink. It's very similar to like the luminous red or opera pink. They are gorgeous in real life. I kind of want to plant some in my front yard. And so I just wanted to do a quick little study of that because it was so beautiful. I'm going over it with some of these, what are these called? The, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting. Distress crayons. Oh my goodness. They're water soluble like Neocolor 2s are and like gelatos are, but they're creamier than Neocolors. Again, I have a video on them if you're curious. But they're in a thinner stick than like a gelato, a Faber-Castell gelato, if you're familiar with those. So I'm running out of time here with this one. It's almost time to go and pick up my kids. So I am just quickly throwing down paint. And this one's going to be a very loose study. I'm going back in with that Derwent drawing pencil and creating just a little bit of shadowing. It doesn't turn out very good, to be completely honest, but I was in a hurry and I just wanted to get a little bit of depth in there. I then go in with a Holbein color pencil, also in the color Luminous Red, because I loved the paint color so much. I also wanted it in color pencil form. So I'm just kind of going over some of those little flower dots that I put on and adding a little bit of texture. Now that all my base layers are dry, I'm going in with the Neo colors again. I believe this is the jade color that I used previously, and some color pencil branches and just some final details now that everything is dry. You can definitely use Neo color on top of wet medium, but it slips around a little bit and it's not nearly as opaque. I find that while it's water soluble, and technically you can, I don't prefer to use it that way. So again, I'm just adding those pops of color into this sketch to kind of make it all tie together and all the panels look cohesive. I'm realizing I was referring to these as sketchbook panels, but I don't think I actually draw any frames around them, so maybe they're just like mini sketches. I don't know. But I'm out of time after I add a little bit of paint to these flowers, and overall I think this was a really productive session for me to get back in the flow of using my materials because I used a lot of different ones. I also liked that I ventured out and tried to sketch my dog, which is a subject I'm not comfortable illustrating or drawing, and overall I just felt like it was a really productive time. And now we are going to move on to my third sketch. Moving on to the last sketch of this video, I realized that I had yet to use my brush pens in the previous two sketches, so I decided that was going to be the main medium I'd use for this one, and then I would go over it with some colored pencil. So I grabbed out my Tombows, and I was feeling a little adventurous from drawing my dog yesterday that I thought, why don't I use brush pens and draw my cat? And I grab out my luminance pencil. I believe this is dark indigo, which is one of my favorites. I really enjoy that for line work on top of my Tombow markers. So I'm going for a more muted, minimal color palette for this one. I didn't have a lot of time today. Also, apologies for the lighting. It was gloomy outside and I had my ring light on. But I'm just filling in the shape of my cat, and I'm looking at some reference photos that I've taken of her. I also have her laying next to me, and I think one or two of them are her in real time, which was also a challenge for me because it's not something I normally do. I tried to be very just like loose with it, and you know, they're not the greatest, but that's okay. You have to practice to get good at stuff, and so I just was like, okay, I really want to get better at drawing animals, and so I'm going to practice, and that's what I did with these sketches. Brush pens are one of my favorite go-tos when I don't have a lot of time to sketch. because they block in color quickly and you don't have to wait for anything to dry. I also really enjoy them for traveling and maybe adding color pencil on top or neo colors on top. They're small and compact, and they're very low maintenance travel materials. So if you haven't tried brush pens, I recommend getting a few and giving them a go. I have a video on my favorite Tombow colors, and I will list that video as well. Here I'm just like playing around with face shape, eye shapes, noses. I don't have a style because, again, I don't really draw animals, so I'm just having a bit of fun and playing around and seeing what I like and don't like. Of course, the color Jade had to make an appearance in this sketch as well. I just can't escape this color. For a while, my favorite Neo color was, I believe the color is lime. Yeah, it was lime green, and I was just like obsessed with it. It went every sketch, and for some reason, that color is now Jade. I can't seem to escape it. And pink. Pink is, I've always liked this color. I really wish, I recently watched some videos of Caran d'Ache's limited edition like celebration colors. I think it was for like an anniversary, and they had some beautiful muted pink colors, I believe in like the pastel line, and maybe it was the portrait line. I don't know. There's a few different lines that have these limited edition colors, and I had so many of the colors already. Granted, if I bought the limited edition palette, I would probably use all the colors up eventually, but I wanted just like 2 colors in there, and they're these like muted rosy pink colors, and I'm so bummed that they don't offer them individually. I would buy them like immediately. I would have bought them yesterday, but I'm still trying to decide if I want to get them. That being said, and speaking of Neo colors, I have a video coming up soon of a Neo color dupe that I found on Amazon. I haven't reviewed it yet, so I can't verify if it's a good dupe. But I was looking on Amazon for Neo colors, and I found this brand that looks like a straight up dupe of Caran d'Ache Neo colors. So I bought them, and I'm going to test them out for you guys and give you my thoughts on them. So be on the lookout for that video as well. So for these last 2 little kitty sketches, I just used my colored pencil instead of blocking it in with a brush pen first. I liked the little line work style of it. I like the combination of the 2 on the same page. While my main objective with all of these sketches was just to use my materials and really re-familiarize myself with them, I am pleased that I did challenge myself with every sketch. Like I did something a little different that I don't normally do, and I pushed myself a little bit. I feel like that's when you get the most growth as an artist. There's days where you just want to do what you're comfortable with, and then there's other moments where you're like, okay, let me just push a little bit and see how it goes. And I feel like that's what all of these sketches did. And I'm really glad I did, because it reminds me that you don't have to make great work to have great value from it or what you learn from it. In fact, I would say the majority of my learning and growth has been in just messing around and stuff that I'm not necessarily like pleased with, visually, but what I learned while doing it has been very helpful and valuable. And that is my last sketchbook page done. I think my favorite one is the one off to the right where she's stretched out with her pot belly hanging out. But yeah, I really enjoyed, practicing this and different positions that the cat was laying in and just techniques that I'm not, used to. And that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you stuck in there with this really long chatty video, I appreciate it. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.